Hey, it's Daddy Don here at K-Cow, and coming up is that sweet little ditty Dynamite Shaw. But first, here's a word from our sponsor, Bob's Tampin' and Blasting. Here at Bob's, we've been short of dynamite since the discovery of that big boondoggle mine. But rest easy, we just got us a big new shipment. And to celebrate, we're offering a special promotion. One case free to the first to telegraph. That's right, absolutely free and gratis. All you gotta do is telegraph us at Dynamite. That's D-Y-N-A-M-I-T-E. Hey, how about that? And here it is as promised, Dynamite Shaw by Howlin' Hollerin'.
There's gold in them thar hills, and you better go find some, or else you can't buy nothing in this store. 7 gold nuggets. There'll be 6 gold nuggets. There'll be 4 gold nuggets. There'll be 6 gold nuggets. There'll be 4 gold nuggets. 5 gold nuggets. 5 gold nuggets. There'll be 6 gold nuggets. 5 gold nuggets. 5 gold nuggets. 5 gold nuggets. There'll be 6 gold nuggets. 7 gold nuggets. 5 gold nuggets. There'll be 6 gold nuggets. There'll be 4 gold nuggets. There'll be 4 gold nuggets. There'll be 4 gold nuggets. Aspirin, there'll be 3 gold nuggets. 5 gold nuggets. There'll be 4 gold nuggets.
Enter and be well. The mysteries of mesmerism are yours for the asking. Approach the master. Make your mind a complete blank. You are getting drowsy. Now, look deep into my eyes.
To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them. To die, to sleep, no more. And by asleep to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. Go away. I've got a headache.
One day in 1795, one of the Montgolfier brothers of France had a great idea for upgrading the royal amusements, which, amazing as it seems, you're looking at. The Versailles Water Gardens. Hydraulic engineering back then being the last word in gee-whizzery. Now, you're not going to believe this, but back then the way aristocrats had fun was by squirting water about. So Montgolfier's idea fitted right in. Worked just like this toy. You compress air so that it builds up behind a water reservoir, and then when you release the water, this happens. In a way, the computer got its start with cashmere shawls. In 1890, a young engineer called Herman Hollerith happened to be working on the US Census, and he was desperate for an automated way to count people. Now, his brother-in-law happened to be in textiles, and he told him about a new loom going around that would do cashmere shawl patterns automatically. It worked a bit like this. You take a piece of paper and put a pattern of holes in it, a bit like this pianola roll. Okay. You set up a bunch of wire hooks on springs, and you push the whole lot against the paper. Where there's a hole, a hook goes through and hooks up a particular thread. The particular thread you want for that particular part of the pattern. All of which makes weaving even the most complex stuff like this a piece of cake. Hollerith reused the idea of holes in paper to represent every kind of census data the government wanted. Did it so successfully, he went on to set up a business that later changed its name to IBM.
Gold only.
Not yet. Not yet.
Where'd you get this? Lord of mercy, we're rich. Rich, I tell you. Here, I got it rememberized. You take it, partner. Yeah!
Hey, I'm Dandy Don Muscatel from K-Cow, and I'm here to deliver the prize personally. Here it is, a case of genuine dynamite, courtesy of our sponsor, Bob's Tampin' and Blastin', the last word in Tampin' and Blastin'. Now, what's your favorite radio station? K-Cow. That's right. Now, don't go blowing it all in one place.
In 1857, things started getting boring indeed, with a tunnel through the Alps. It was a boring business, boring. First you made the holes for the explosives, then you stood around while they blew that bit up, which was why they cut only 9 inches of tunnel a day. Then they brought in a variant of Joseph Montgolfier's hydraulic ram to compress air for pneumatic drills. Remember Montgolfier, the balloonist? That's the connection. Anyway, bingo, 15 feet a day. And then, of course, cutting through mountains became even more fun when somebody invented dynamite.
You here for Miss Lila's aspirins? That'll be 3 gold nuggets.
Thanks to the invention of dynamite, there were 3 tunnels under the Alps by the turn of the century, and a new luxury way to get to Istanbul on the Orient Express. Now, by an extraordinary irony, the 3 chief engineers building all 3 tunnels died of heart attacks. The irony being that the nitroglycerin they were using could have saved them. See, before dynamite, the main use for nitroglycerin was as medication to relieve the symptoms of a heart condition, because in one form, nitroglycerin opens up the constricted blood vessels that can lead to a heart attack. There was one other less drastic medical use for nitro. It was discovered that handling dynamite every day could give you what was understatedly known by doctors at the time as a dynamite headache, relieved by taking nitroglycerin. Until, that is, things took a turn for the botanical. This little plant's called meadowsweet. And back in 1835, a French chemist had extracted some stuff from it called acetyl salicylic acid. Found out it would cure headaches. But the process took so long he gave up. Anyway, the botanical name for meadowsweet's Spirea almaria. Now, a few years later, when every German chemist was going nuts trying to extract anything they could find from the new wondergunk throwaway byproduct of gaslight, coal tar, one of them came across a chemical called phenol, with which you could artificially make acetyl salicylic acid quick and fast. So he made up a name for it. A for acetyl salicylic acid, S-P-I-R from the botanical name for meadowsweet, and nobody knows why he chose the last 2 letters, I-N. And that's why aspirin's called aspirin.
Come in. It's so hard to have my talent and be stuck in a podunk town like this. I should be on Broadway. The lights, the applause. It gives me a headache just thinking about it. You understand? You're a person of culture and taste. It shows. Excuse me now while I go and take a couple of these. Make yourself at home.
In 1867, a surgeon called Lister heard somebody tried carbolic acid to disinfect cows. So he tried the stuff, its other name was phenol, on his patients, and it worked. Then, one night at a dance, some woman splashed perfume on this guy, name of Richardson, an anaesthetist. And he noticed the cooling effect as it evaporated, remembered ether evaporated, and raced home to invent the ether anesthetic spray. That's the last link in the chain, because an atomizer is essentially a carburetor, isn't it? And the carburetor is linked through the computer controlling it to the shawl because of Hollerith's role as the grandfather of IBM. So the balloon led to hydraulics, dynamite, aspirin, and the atomizer, which led to the carburetor, the shawl, and the player piano roll. And in the strange way that history goes, it's all connected. But then I don't have to tell you that. And I'd say we've got the forces of chaos under control at last.
I say, old boy, Edward first.
No, Edward second.
What?
Well, Edward the first and then Edward the second.
No, the bowling game, old boy.
Oh!
Edward first.
No, me first.
Right. Quite.
Yes.
On you go, then. Bad luck, old boy.
Oh.
Well done. See here, that's not particularly sportsmanlike. If you insist on purloining one of our bowls, we'll have to make you work for it.
Yes, we're in need of an umpire. Why don't you score this end?
You've certainly mastered the game.
Here, here. You deserve some souvenirs for your efforts.
When the Spanish Armada set out to invade England in 1588, King Philip's grand plan was to wipe out the English navy, take over a fast-growing economy, and get some money. As the shock news of the approaching Spanish mega-fleet reached the English Naval High Command, they were out having a game of bowls. So, like any Englishman would in moments of impending disaster, they went on with their game, of course. Because thanks to Queen Elizabeth, they had new, high-tech, high-speed ships able to run circles around the Spanish, which they did, and won. Cheers. But the Armada had given the English a kind of scare you don't forget. So by the mid-17th century, they, and then everybody else, were into building really big ships. I mean, one of those monsters took 1,000 oak trees. Well, that put the kibosh on people making glass, because they'd been chopping down all the wood to make charcoal for fuel for their glass furnaces.
$2.99 gets you a super duper doggy, fries, and a large drink of your choice. Hey, I'm making minimum wage here. Get your grubbies off my tips. Customers only. You deadbeats want to use the restroom without buying nothing. And everyone else leaves some lousy tip. $2.99 gets you a super duper doggy, fries, and a large drink of your choice.
Bones makes the best burgers in town, don't you think?
This chili cheese dog is smashing.
Quite.
I say,
Nice move, Ace. Now, where'd I put that towel?
In 1730, an Englishman named James Hadley put two new precision mirrors on a navigational instrument he invented called a sextant. Line up the horizon through the telescope on the half-silvered mirror. With the top mirror, move the image of a star so it's superimposed on the horizon in the half-silvered mirror. Read the angle off the bottom scale. Then do the same again with another star. Then your star tables will tell you where on Earth you would have to be to get those two stars at those two angles. So now you know where your ship is. Thanks to the sextant and a surveying principle called triangulation, you could now measure horizontal distances with great precision, which left only one problem: heights. There still weren't any on maps yet. So the connection here is to Saussure, the Swiss fossil finder, who was so preoccupied with the height of Mont Blanc. Copper, that's one connection here, was so valuable in Renaissance times because it helped to make the equivalent of the gift for the man who has everything: a bronze cannon. Because what you had to have in the 16th century was firepower. Now, the only fly in the ointment for cannon-firing princes and such was that fighting battles back then wasn't like it is today. There was no such thing as a regular army, which gave them a particularly inconvenient problem. They couldn't get hold of money when they needed it, to pay their mercenary troops when they wanted it, which was always yesterday, because there were no banks. Well, not banks we'd call banks. And nobody ever burnt the financial candle at both ends quite like the father of this chap, Philip II of Spain. Philip's father had left him with the royal crest, the royal crown, and a royal financial pain. Phil, a chip off the old block, tried solving the problem in the traditional manner by invading someone. In 1588, Philip made his play, which was to head up the English Channel with an invasion fleet called, for psychological warfare reasons, the Armada, meaning tons of guns. And that's the connection to the lawn bowling ball, through Sir Francis Drake, who beat the Armada.
Hi, Mr. Moran. Need to get into your safety deposit box today? No problem. If you'll just enter your mother's maiden name in the keypad here, I'll bring you your safety deposit box. I'm sorry, that's not right. Please try again.
Creepy place this, isn't it? Still, people do their research in the oddest places. Take Francis Galton, poked around in graveyards and came up with a theory of heredity. As to what you're doing here, I haven't a ghost of a clue. Charles Darwin happened to have a cousin whose name was Francis Galton. Galton studied graveyards and death certificates and such, analysed the number of good family people who died over a period of time, as well as the number of imbeciles. The numbers were so meaningful as to suggest some kind of law. Heredity. So maybe top people could stay top people, and he meant ethnic groups and social classes as well as individuals, through, quote, selective parenthood, unquote. He gave all this stuff the name of eugenics.
Hi, Mr. Moran. Need to get into your safety deposit box today? No problem. If you'll just enter your mother's maiden name in the keypad here, I'll bring you your safety deposit box. I'll be right back. Here you are. Thanks for banking with us. Have a nice day.
You're back. $2.99 gets you a super duper doggy, fries, and a large drink of your choice.
There's been a robbery, and for your own safety, you're going to have to vacate the... Wait a minute. You're under arrest. Come here, you. Welcome.
Can you please put your fingerprint here?
Did you know that the science of fingerprinting was invented by the same cousin of Charles Darwin who researched in graveyards and came up with the theory of heredity? The cousin, Francis Galton was his name, shared his invention with Scotland Yard, which helped make sure they'd always find who done it. This code, thought up by Francis Galton at the turn of the 20th century, describes a different pattern everybody has. Some bits of the pattern are identified by a pair of letters, other bits are given a number. Take a look at one particular bit of detail, this number, 9. It's the number of times my pattern crosses a reference line from one feature in the pattern to another. In my case, the pattern crosses the reference line 9 times. So with Galton's code, you can identify my unique patterns in any one of these. My fingerprints. That's what Galton invented at the turn of the century. Fingerprinting. In 1787, a Swiss named Saussure became so obsessed with Mont Blanc that he climbed it with a barometer to measure its height. Up here, Saussure got turned on by what he saw: bits of granite and shellfish fossils. Saussure reckoned if you found shellfish up a mountain, the ancient seabed must have risen to become mountains. Why? Because the mountains were made of granite, volcanic upheavals of molten granite way back. And since granite doesn't exactly wear down easily, then the present-day erosion you could see in granite rocks must have taken quite a while. And if that took a long time, how long had it taken to cause the erosion you see all around you on the mountains? So Saussure wrote a book saying, if erosion took the same amount of time in the ancient past as it did today, that meant the ancient past was really ancient. The Earth was incredibly old. Well, I don't have to tell you where that would lead. Saussure's ideas eventually got to Charles Darwin, who used the enormous age of the Earth to back his theory of evolution.
Oh my God, you're back. $2.99, get you a super duper doggy, fries, and a large drink of your choice. Your doggy's coming right up. Here's your change.
I don't suppose there's ever been an individual quite like the one we call Renaissance man. You know, those people who once knew everything there was to know about everything. Like this guy, George Bower. George Bower was really quite a guy. He taught Greek, then Latin, then grammar. Then he went into physics, then chemistry, then linguistics, and then publishing. And then, in the middle of the 16th century, he came here, to northern Italy, to the best university in Europe, because he'd finally decided what he really wanted to be. A doctor. Anyway, George finishes the course and in time goes off to become a GP in a mining town in what would now be the Czech Republic, where he promptly writes a multi-volume reference book. But not about medicine, about mining, of course. After all, George is a unique Renaissance man, so mining is just another string to his bow. Now, I don't suppose copper's ever been quite so popular as it was during Renaissance times, although even today it's valuable enough that pennies aren't made of copper anymore. In Bower's day, it was such priceless stuff that if you owned a mine of it and used the techniques in his book, you'd know in advance that things financial were going to go with a bang. Mirrors had a problem with distortion until the 18th century when a Frenchman invented smooth plate glass. That connects to James Hadley, who used the better mirror to invent the sextant. And what Hadley did for horizontal measurement relates to that fossil hunter Saussure's calculation of the height of Mont Blanc. These are links in a chain that starts with a copper penny and ends with a fingerprint. Well, that's the web for you. Lovely night for a cruise. Quite peaceful for a change. Maybe because he's not around. You know, the one who's causing all this trouble with the web. Thanks to you, we appear to have got rid of him. It looks like smooth sailing from here out. Or did I speak too soon?
I hope you're not here for this tapestry. It's not quite finished yet. According to the ancient pattern, that apple was supposed to be a peach. If the dye master finds out, he will kill me.
Interesting things, soap bubbles. A Scottish scientist once kept a soap bubble alive, so to speak, for 3 years. Of course, the Bible on soap was written at the beginning of the 19th century by a fellow who did most of his work in Paris, name of Chevreul. And Chevreul's contribution to the sum of total knowledge was that he found out why soap makes you clean. Meanwhile, why did he get into soap at all? Because he was really a dyer, and dyes interact with cloth fibres just like soap does. And Chevreul's obsession was to make intense colour dyes that wouldn't wash or fade out. Chevreul was director of dyeing at the Gobelin tapestry factory. These, as it happens, are the greatest tapestries of all time. 50 years before Chevreul, Gobelin tapestry design suddenly went very subtle, so the boss hired a couple of painters to design this kind of pattern. Subtle needlework, right? But you've probably already guessed you're not looking at a European design. And these Chinese figures are a clue to why the world-famous Gobelin factory didn't begin life as a tapestry factory at all. That's because in the early part of the 18th century, the hot stuff for doing up your house was anything from the Far East. Rugs, silks, porcelain, and the one thing the market turned up that was to turn out to be a real craze, and the reason the Gobelin factory was set up in the first place. Not to make tapestries at all, to make fake lacquer furniture.